Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to recap and explain a recently released horror movie called The Black Demon. The movie opens with a voiceover of a guy who talks about a mythical beast off the coast of Baja Beach in Mexico. It appears when summoned. Its appearance is a sign of wrongdoing and punishment. We see two oil workers working on the El Diamante oil rig. One guy dives into the sea and attaches some sort of machine to the oil rig which starts a countdown. The other dude was enjoying the music and smoking on the platform. He accidentally threw his cigarette into the water which catches the flame. Meaning the oil spill was all around this and the rig was leaking. Quickly he dodges the flame and saves the day. As the other guy was coming out he saw some strange things. All the aquatic life in the ocean came towards him and they were glowing. Suddenly a shark from nowhere attacked him and killed him. Then the same shark attacked the other guy on the platform and killed him as well. Next, we see a family moving towards this oil rig town. The family had Paul, Ines, Audrey, and Tommy. Paul was an executive working for Nexen Oil that owned the oil ring. Paul is a safety engineer whose first assignment was this oil rig. He had a very fond memory of this town as he and his colleagues literally built this area. For some reason, the company was putting a lot of pressure on him to check the rig ASAP. His wife Ines was from Mexico, yet she didn't like this part of the nation. Paul's daughter Audrey was frustrated as she thought this was a punishment vacation. Whereas his son Tommy was very excited to see the new place. To Paul's surprise and shock, this town was nearly empty. Almost 90% of the people had left and all the shops were empty. He forgot to book a hotel hoping it will be empty, but as it turned out it was closed years ago. Paul and Ignace explained their situation to the locals who told them the legend of Tlaloc. They said it was the wrath of the Tlaloc. The oil rig El Diamante took more than they bargained for and this angered Tlaloc. Ines talked with locals in Spanish and gave them some money to take them to a good place for lunch. A guy named El Rey took them to the nearby restaurant. On the way, he stopped at the sign of Tlaloc and offered his prayers for protection. Kid Tommy observed him and offered his Snickers bar as offerings and took a small statue for protection. Tommy was interested in learning the history and culture of this place, hence he started Googling it out. Tommy as a goodwill gesture gave his pirate band to El Rey. At the restaurant, there were not many people, but those who were there were men and they were drunk. Paul was getting constant messages and calls from his higher officials to go and inspect the rig immediately. It seemed there was an emergency. Paul asks Ines to stay put and find a suitable place for the stay. Ines was a little hesitant as she was not feeling very secure and comfortable around here. Yet she agreed. Paul gave some money to the restaurant owner and asked him to keep an eye on his family. Later he reached the shore office and asked the radio operator to radio him in. The operator agreed but didn't do it. A guy by the name of Choco, whom Paul knew from his early days, was waiting for him. Choco greeted Paul and these two started sailing towards the rig. Paul here again asked Choco about the place and fishermen. This place was deserted. Choco reiterated the legend. He said El Diamante awakened the demon. It will not stop until it gets its sacrifice. Many wrongs were done here and someone has to pay the price for it. Choco was so scared of El Diamante that he refused to go further after some distance. He had arranged a boat and asked Paul to go there all by himself. This surprised Paul. He offered more money, yet Choco refused. With no choice available, he sailed towards the rig on his own. Back at the restaurant, a few drunk men started harassing Audrey. Ines tried reasoning it out with them, but they were way too assertive. To protect her child, she hit one of the guys with a bottle and ran from there. As the guys followed the family, Ines paid money to one fisherman to take her to the El Diamante oil rig. The fisherman was hesitant at first, but after seeing her condition he agreed. As Paul neared the rig, the oil spill was everywhere. He found a blood-stained mask floating with many debris. Upon reaching the rig there was nobody. It seemed like a ghost place. In the harbor master's room, two people, Junior and Chato, attacked Paul, thinking him an intruder. After a scuffle, Paul explained his identity and the situation stabilized. But soon Junior and Chato panicked as they hear a boat coming towards the rig. Fanatically, they started banging on the rods of the rig to make a noise as if they were signaling something. Innes and family were coming towards the rig with something like a gigantic shark chasing them. Chato fired a few flare shots in the air to distract it. Shark swiftly swam towards the rig to attack and inverted Paul's boat. The fishermen quickly offboarded the family and left. Paul and Innes were clueless as to what was happening here. While offboarding, Audrey slides into the sea where she sees many mutilated body parts surrounding her. In a panic, she starts to move out with the shark rushing towards her. Paul and Innes grab her to the platform, but she was freaked. In front of their eyes, everyone saw the shark attacking the fishermen. It tore the boat in half. It was gigantic, like a Megalodon appeared out of nowhere. This shocked Paul as he was not expecting this on his vacation. After settling in, Chato again explained the situation. The rig was on radio silence for a couple of weeks and the satellite phone was also dead. El Diamante was spilling oil for months. Headquarters knew about it, yet they didn't do anything. This was all news to Paul as he never imagined a situation this bad. Here the shark was constantly hitting the rig to take it down. To revive power for radio, he suggests connecting underwater lines manually. For this, Chato and Junior had to dive in through the dive chamber and do the needful. Both agreed as there was no other solution. While gearing up, Chato explains why people believe the shark El Demonio Negro, or the Black Demon. According to legend, Tlaloc was a god of rain, a giver of life. Ages ago, people used to take from nature what they needed. But soon they took more, cut down trees, killed animals, built dams, etc. This angered Tlaloc, and his wrath brought the Great Flood. The Nixon Oil Company initially brought prosperity to the region. They provided jobs, followed rules and regulations. With time they forgot everything, made tons of money, and polluted the sea, which killed many life. This angered Tlaloc. He brought back the extinct shark to teach the lesson. It's not an ordinary shark, it emits visions, and it makes you see things that are not there. He cites the example of Audrey seeing bodies inside the water. Paul rubbishes all these tall tales and asks him to do his job. Innes and the kids were sure scared hearing all this. Chato and Junior entered the water through the dive chamber while Paul was watching it through the monitor. As these two started working inside the water, as the shark started coming towards them. On one of its pillars, Paul observed the countdown clock ticking, which reminded him of something and shocked him as well. Junior drifted away from Chato due to the water current and found himself in horrible visions of floating body parts. In a panic, he rushed back to the chamber, but the shark dragged the chamber itself with it and killed Junior. Chato, without fixing the lines, swam upwards to safety. Paul and Innes were horrified seeing this as they couldn't do much. These two started arguing about what to do next. Paul blamed Innes for coming to her as he clearly told her to stay on the ground. As Chato was saying about Junior, Paul suddenly saw large ships on the horizon. Without thinking much, he started shouting, screaming for help, and even fired a flare gun. Chato quickly grabbed the gun from Paul's hand as all of it was his vision. He said, "The shark is playing with us." Tommy had read all about this legend of Tlaloc on the internet. He was making a small boat of sorts with different figurines to symbolize all living the rig. According to the legend, Aztecs believed that Tlaloc will calm down hearing the cry of children. He needs sacrifice. Paul once again tells him to ignore this as a tall tale. Here he got another idea to kickstart the backup generator through water pipes. He showed the blueprints and made cuts in pipes to reroute the water. While these two were working, Innes found a few safety report documents which clearly implied El Diamante was unsafe. Yet year after year Paul signed off on it saying it's safe. It's a clear case of fraud. Paul knowingly lied to her and allowed the rig to function. On the other hand, Tommy sailed his miniature boat into the water and asked forgiveness from Tlaloc. The figurine symbolizing Paul dropped from it. Soon the shark attacked the rig again, which caused Tommy to fall into the water. As he started screaming, Paul rushed and jumped into the water to save him. Later, Innes confronted Paul about all those safety lapses and blamed him for negligence. Paul accepted his mistakes but tried to justify them by saying he did all those things for the family. He said, "When I first visited El Diamante, it was in a rough shape. I did an honest review and pointed out lapses. Naturally, higher bosses didn't like it. They threatened me with my job and forced me to sign all those documents. Then I did what they asked me to do. It's all part and parcel of the job." Innes was disappointed to hear this, but the pressing issue was to get out of this rig alive. Chato finished his welding work and power got restored. Paul showed the countdown clock to Chato, saying, "These are the underground depth chargers we use for the explosion. Nexen Oil sent me here on the pretext of safety checking, but in reality, they wanted to kill me in the explosion that will happen soon." Chato tried contacting the outside world via radio, but nobody answered the Mayday call. Chaco did hear the call, but the men from the town and El Rey stopped him. Tommy found a rescue raft boat, but it had many holes. Audrey and Innes patched all of them with the materials available. Paul asked Chato to take his family away, as he will be going underwater now to fix the oil leak as well as kill the shark with a depth charger. It will be a suicide mission, and he was ready for it. All prayed together and left on the raft. Paul jumped into the water and fixed the leak by welding it. By grabbing the depth charger, he waited for the shark to arrive. When it came very near, he deployed the bomb and killed the shark. With a huge explosion like this, the rig got shattered and immersed in the water. Innes and the kids who were hopeful for Paul's recovery started crying at Paul's death. Soon El Rey and Chaco came to their rescue. As these guys were headed for land, rain started pouring in, symbolizing maybe Tlaloc got his sacrifice. The miniature boat Tommy sailed earlier also drowned due to rain. Maybe these guys also drown in stormy rain. Or they might have survived. It is left to the viewer's interpretation. But if you carefully heard Tommy's story about Aztecs, when children cried, then only Tlaloc gets pacified. Children too were sacrificed for him. If you go by that logic, then Paul's family will not make it. I believe they survived. Hope you liked this movie. Please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.